Follow Memberz, NLMB, DOGG. I'm Chicago, man. Let's see what happened, bro. What's going on, man?
All this chit chat, man. Pull up, man. I'm out here. Phone up. Get off this shit. You niggas ain't on shit.
Claimed that G Herbo could not come back to his hood, and you know he kind of had put the green light on G Herbo.
It's crazy work.
It was a Friday afternoon in Chicago, September 29th, 2025. The kind of late September day where the sun still hangs high over the rooftops and school kids cut through alleyways to get home. Around 3:30 p.m., Jalen Hibbler, known in the streets as J-Dog, was standing in an alley off the 2500 block of East 78th Street. He wasn't alone. With him was a friend, and together they stood in familiar territory. Nothing about the moment seemed out of place. It was the kind of routine hangout that happened every day in that alley. But just minutes later, a black Cadillac Escalade rolled onto the block. The vehicle slowed, parked, and a man stepped out. Surveillance footage would later reveal key details. The man walked with a pronounced limp. He didn't sneak in or rush. He moved with purpose, one step at a time, directly towards J-Dog and the group. At close range, there was a brief exchange of words. What was said, no one knows. But then the man drew two guns from his waistband, one in each hand, and opened fire without hesitation. 19 shots rang out, echoing off brick walls and scattering birds into the air. The 17-year-old was struck in the chest. J-Dog tried to run, but didn't make it far. He collapsed in the alley where he stood. The shooter turned and walked calmly back to the Escalade. In less than a minute, he was gone.
September 29th, 2025. While standing in an alley in his own hood in the South Shore neighborhood near 78th and Essex Street in Chicago, NLMB member J-Dog was ambushed and shot 6 times in the back. He was transported to the Christ Medical Center in Oakline, but from his injury shortly after.
When first responders arrived, they found shell casings of 2 different calibers scattered across the scene, a grim confirmation of what the cameras had caught. J-Dog was rushed to the University of Chicago Medical Center, but the injuries were too severe. He was pronounced deceased shortly after arrival. After J-Dog was hit, No Limit Cairo was one of the few people from the block who publicly showed him love. Cairo made posts honoring J-Dog after his passing, signaling that despite the tension and internal fallout around the situation, J-Dog still had respect from people close to him. Before his name made headlines, J-Dog wasn't famous in the traditional sense, but to those who walked the same streets, he was respected, recognized, someone who had been around, survived, and maintained his footing in a city that doesn't give second chances easily. Those who knew him described him as serious, sharp, and loyal to his set. He didn't chase fame, but he had a presence. If you were tapped into the local scene, you knew who he was. He was seen in photos and social media clips alongside known affiliates of NLMB. His association with big names like G Herbo wasn't fan-based, it was real proximity. He was part of the core, the inner circle before the fame and the music labels, in a crew that often blurred the lines between street life and rap notoriety. J-Dog was one of the ones who stayed in the street. He didn't leave the block, and that loyalty, depending on who you ask, was either his strength or the thing that caused him to lose his life. J-Dog was part of one of its most infamous crews, NLMB, also known as No Limit Muskegon Boys. The name carried weight far beyond the blocks of Terrortown, thanks in part to figures like G Herbo and Lil Bibby, who brought the acronym into the national spotlight through music. But long before the record deal and interviews, NLMB was a street set, and its roots ran deep. For years, NLMB was known for its internal loyalty, discipline, and retaliatory precision. They moved in silence, rarely aired out internal affairs publicly, and often blurred the lines between rap success and street muscle. For those on the outside, NLMB was just another crew. But for those inside, it was a world with its own rules and its own consequences. J-Dog's place in that world wasn't just symbolic. He was reportedly active, not a fringe affiliate, not a fan claiming ties. He was someone whose name came up when the conversation turned serious. worse, his connection to high-profile figures like G Herbo weren't just through Instagram follows or one-time photos. He had history with the set, with the neighborhood, and with the people who ran it. According to multiple online accounts, he held status among NLMB members. On the night of September 16, 2016, gunfire erupted on the 2600 block of East 75th Street in Chicago's South Shore neighborhood. It was just after 10 p.m. when two teens were walking down the street. They were reportedly unarmed, just moving through the neighborhood like any other night. But that stretch of 75th had long been a tension point in the local gang landscape. Few walked it without watching their back. As the pair reached the block, a black Dodge Avenger pulled up alongside them. In an instant, shots rang out from the rear passenger side window. The young teen was struck in the leg. The older boy, Alexander Townsend, was hit in the hand and the abdomen. The Avenger peeled off into the night as two persons were wounded, collapsed onto the pavement. Paramedics arrived within minutes. Both were rushed to the hospital, but Townsend didn't make it. The 18-year-old passed away from his injuries not long after arrival. Chicago police began reviewing surveillance footage.
Yo, hold on 1 second. I want to take a minute to show y'all my merchandise. If you see anything you like, go ahead and get you some. You'll be out there looking fly, looking fresh. I'm going to leave a link in the description. Back to the video.
From a city camera near the scene. It captured a blurry but chilling sequence. The black sedan slowly creeping up, the back window rolling down, the flashes of gunfire lighting up the frame. As detectives worked to identify the vehicle and shooter, they turned to the person who survived for help. The surviving person told police he recognized the shooter, Jalen Hibbler, aka J-Dog. Prosecutors said it wasn't just a hunch. The incident was reportedly caught on surveillance camera, and the surviving person later claimed that while both were being held in juvenile custody, Jalen made a mock gun gesture towards him. It was enough to charge him as an adult for the crime. J-Dog was denied bail and booked into Cook County Jail, where he remained for over a year, but his time inside wasn't quiet. On April 15, 2017, J-Dog and 7 other inmates carried out what authorities described as a coordinated act of arson inside the jail. According to the Cook County Sheriff's Office, the group used a smuggled makeshift wick, heated in a microwave, to set fire to their own jail uniforms. Flames and smoke quickly spread through the tier. Multiple correctional officers were treated for smoke inhalation. Investigators later described it as an organized act of disruption, and not the first time some of the inmates had caused trouble. All 8 were charged with aggravated arson, a serious felony. J-Dog, who was 18 by then, now faced a second major charge, while still awaiting trial for hit. But even after the arson incident, J-Dog remained locked up, and the homicide case dragged on. No trial date appeared in news reports, no updates from court filings. He disappeared from headlines entirely. Years passed, and then, without fanfare, J-Dog was back on the street. He hadn't snitched, he hadn't folded, and he hadn't vanished into the system like so many others. Whatever happened in court, J-Dog came home with his reputation intact. To many in NLMB, that mattered more than any headline. But status in a crew like NLMB doesn't guarantee protection. In fact, sometimes it paints a bigger target. When lines began to blur between loyalty and ego, between old friends and new money, between the street and the stage, allegiances shift. And in the weeks leading up to his passing, J-Dog's public criticism of NLMB's most visible figure would test those allegiances in a very dangerous way. To the outside world, G Herbo is a successful rapper with charting albums and national recognition. But in Chicago, he's also known for something else, being a day one member of NLMB, the same set J-Dog was from, same block, same allegiances. According to many in the neighborhood, they weren't just loosely affiliated, they had real proximity. In photos from years earlier, J-Dog could be seen posted with familiar faces from Herbo's circle, suggesting he wasn't just a fan from the sidelines. He was inside the room, a foot soldier, while others became stars.
I done bonded my homies out for 20,000s, 10,000s, 100,000s. Like, I done really did that shit before, bro. Like, for real, young, bro. I did that before I was 21. See, did that shit at a young age, bro, because I was having money early. I had to learn to stop doing that shit, bro. Every time it's a nigga gotta pay for it. Nigga, you one of your homies, your closest friend died, you put him in all Gucci, all Louis when he died. Now every nigga want to get buried in Louis.
Right.
Every nigga want to get buried in the wall. Everybody want $100,000
Yeah,
friend. You know what I'm
see?
saying? You do that shit one time, you gotta do it every time.
But in the weeks before his passing, the bond appeared to break publicly. On social media, J-Dogg aired out his frustrations. Screenshots and video captured him calling out G Herbo directly, accusing him of neglecting the neighborhood, turning his back on those who stood by him before the fame.
Man, bro, shit, we out here doing this. We in the trenches and you not, like, so we out here risking our life and risking death in jail. But at that time, like, bro, I'm a real celebrity.
Can't
I
do
was
it.
really a somebody, so I'm thinking like, shit, all right, we all gonna be dead or in jail. You feel what I'm saying? So it's like basically you telling me you love me, you care about me, but you only care about me if I'm risking my life and risking my freedom.
Right.
That ain't caring about me.
Nah.
In one widely circulated post, J-Dogg reportedly wrote that Herbo was banned from coming back to the block. He called Herbo out for buying jewelry while the block went hungry, for flexing success without giving back, for forgetting who helped him get there. In street politics, that kind of talk doesn't go unnoticed, especially when it comes from someone with their own respect. J-Dogg wasn't just clout chasing, he had credibility. And calling out someone like Herbo, even indirectly, put pressure on NLMB from within. It challenged the pecking order. It questioned loyalty at the top. And when you speak that loudly against someone who wears the crown, there's always a risk that someone else hears it as a green light. When J-Dogg was hit, some eyes turned to Herbo. Another one of the rumors that surfaced after J-Dogg's passing is that he was involved in a physical fight shortly before he was hit, possibly with someone connected to Big Op, who had actually supported Herbo against J-Dogg's statement. Some suggested this might have something to do with J-Dogg losing his life, but the official investigation into J-Dogg's homicide case didn't unfold like most street shootings in Chicago. There was no anonymous tip, no shaky witness testimony. What police had instead was a recording, one that captured the assailant from the moment he stepped into the alley to the moment he walked away. That footage became the backbone of the case. According to federal authorities, the shooter was caught in full view. He walked with a noticeable limp, carried 2 firearms, and opened fire with both hands at once. A dramatic, almost cinematic execution. When the shell casings were collected, there were 19 in total, scattered across the alley from 2 different calibers, supporting the dual wheel detail. But it wasn't just what was caught on camera, it was who law enforcement recognized in the footage. The ATF brought in officers familiar with gang activity in South Shore, and several immediately identified the shooter as Fabius Shipman, a 37-year-old with a long rap sheet and a well-known street name, G-Fabe. To federal agents and local police alike, Shipman was no mystery. He had a prior federal conviction for dope trafficking in 2019, and he was currently out on felony pretrial release for a separate gun case. He also had a distinct walk, a limp, stemming from a serious car crash while fleeing police in 2013. To prosecutors, that limp was a signature. Investigators tied him to previous police encounters and body cam footage, including one traffic stop from earlier in 2025 that showed Shipman fleeing on foot, wearing the same White Sox cap with the gold sticker seen in the shooting video, while the footage from the day of J-Dogg's homicide case was shown to officers familiar with Shipman. Multiple people independently confirmed that was G-Fabe. In October 2025, just 2 weeks after the shooting, federal charges were filed, but not for murder, not yet. Instead, Shipman was charged with felony in possession of ammunition, a federal offense tied directly to the shell casings found at the scene. The legal reasoning was strategic, since Shipman was already barred from possessing any firearms or ammunition due to his criminal history. The feds could immediately detain him and begin building a broader case. It also meant the case could be pursued at the federal level, where gang enhancement penalties and surveillance evidence tend to hold more weight. The complaint didn't just accuse Shipman of having ammunition, it explicitly named him as the gunman in the J-Dogg shooting. And although he hadn't been charged by Cook County prosecutors as of the end of 2025, the message from federal agents was clear. They believed he pulled the trigger. What remained unclear is the why. No motives have been confirmed in court. No additional arrests have been made. There have been no cooperative witnesses, no confessions, just the video, the limp, and the weight of the streets pointing towards an internal betrayal. Fabius G-Fabe Shipman is currently being held on the federal ammo charge. Prosecutors have not ruled out further charges, including conspiracy or homicide. But for now, the passing of J-Dogg exists in the gray space where official investigation and street justice collide, caught on camera, but still clouded by silence. Rest in peace, NLMB J-Dogg.
You know the father member, bro. Let me know what you think in the comments. Appreciate you made it all the way to the end of the video. Yeah, I don't think Giorbo had nothing to do with that, bro. It's just because like when it come to that type of shit, them type of situations, niggas could have made their own decisions and just got on that with bro. Cause both of them probably, you know what I'm saying, had homies on that rock with them a certain, you know what I'm saying, a certain level, and they just niggas made their own decisions. So I don't think Giorbo was just on some dark shit. Oh man, I'm out of here, bro.